Welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm Kobe Manzo, struggling to put my headset on tonight for some reason. It's episode 132. Joining you, take a little bit of a hiatus break this Friday. Just had a lot going on, to be honest with you. But we're back. It's great to be back. It's like 10:53 on Monday night right now. It's been a long fucking day, excuse me. But I am very happy that I did decide to have an episode tonight because I'll tell you why. We've had two fantastic guests. I say that, I think, every week. I hope it does not lose meaning with you, whoever is listening or watching, because I truly do mean it. The head coach from Valdosta State, Tremaine Jackson, joins me here shortly. And then the quarterback from Central Missouri, he's leading all of Division II in passing yards and passing touchdowns, Zach Zebrowski from the Mules down there. He'll join me later in the episode. Just two fantastic conversations with two fantastic humans and great people in the football world, man. So definitely tune in for those if you are watching on YouTube. Timestamps, bottom of the screen there, chapters, fast forward. Any part of that, any conversation, get to it, get the hell out of here, or stick around. I appreciate it if you do. Otherwise, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, check the description. Got all the timestamps down there for you. Fast forward any part of the episode. But October 2nd, man. True fall weather. It was 80 degrees in Marquette today. I don't know what the hell is going on, but true fall weather, true football going on. We've got Week 5 game recaps for you today. I guess I'll kind of outline some of the more marquee ones for you. I think Division II-wise, it comes down to Minnesota State and Bemidji State, number 5 at number 7. Mankato picks up a big W on the road. We'll talk about that squad. Shem Butler-Lawson's Harlan Hill campaign. Good start to that one. Otherwise, a lot of great, we'll cover like 7 different D2 games, not even counting the Central Missouri Northwest game. And then looking at the D3 side of things, North Central went in and pounded the number 10 team in the country in Wheaton. That was a really impressive showing. But we've got some other great conference play startups to talk about, some underdogs, some other things to go on in the D3 world. Do not worry, though. You saw the post about the NAIA person joining the show. It will happen. It will happen soon. I got to send out some Zoom invites, get some people talking to. I don't know when it'll happen, but it will happen. So rest assured, those who are tuning in for NAIA football, it will come. I just do not have the capacity to cover it right now. Between D2 and D3 and, the guests and all those things, it's a lot, man. Admittedly, it's a lot. I'm going to try and do my best here shortly in these next couple episodes to hopefully get there, but bear with me, I guess. Otherwise, please subscribe on YouTube. I think we're about to hit 700 subscribers, We need 1,000, man. We need it. We need 1K. Get us to 1K on YouTube. I appreciate it. Everyone who subscribes to us on there, if you follow us on all the social platforms, it means a lot, man. But like I said, I talked about those guest episodes, the guest interviews. Excuse me, there's the word. I talked up the guest interviews quite a bit. How about we get right into that first one with Coach Jackson from Valdosta? Joining the show tonight, from Texas to Colorado and Georgia, amongst other places, this man has coached a lot of high-level ball. His squad is playing lights out right now. The head coach of Valdosta State, it's Tremaine Jackson. What's going on, Coach?
Really glad to be here, man. Just excited about getting a chance to chop it up with you a little bit.
Hell yeah, man. Excited to get you on here. Your team is rolling right now, like I talked about it. 5-0, man. And before, you give me obviously, we'll talk about some of the marquee games coming up for y'all. 5-0 right now, a really strong start. It's, not to discredit any of those earlier games and those quality wins for you guys. At some point, that's just got to feel good, man.
Yeah, I sat back last year and looked at some notes from last year. We were 3-2, and trying to figure it out. We lost a really tough game to Virginia Union. Had lost to Delta State, and we're just trying to find our identity. I was new. You got the pressure of being at a place like Valdosta State, and so we were kind of in the wilderness a little bit last year. And, man, really proud of our staff, proud of his team for starting the right way. We wanted to win September because we know in the Gulf South Conference, if you don't win September, October sometimes might not even matter, right? So we won September, and now we look forward to a really aggressive conference field October.
Hell yeah. I hear you, Coach. You're spot on, too. And, you talked a little bit about the pressure. You weren't inheriting, a 500 team or a team that was at the bottom of this conference. The team was in a national championship before you took the helm, and you've had a lot of success at places that you've coached, so that's nothing new to you, the success. I think a lot of people know that will come with this program, but with that being said, those are some pretty, big shoes to fill or pretty high expectations to meet. Talk about that coming in, especially in year one where coming off that run, you do start 3-2, and for a lot of outsiders, there may have been that doubt.
Yeah, for me, I didn't look at it as I was taking over a national championship runner-up team. I looked at it as man, I got a chance to go and coach and recruit guys at a high level,
Yeah.
which coaching for me is a ministry. And so I wanted to be able to pour into guys, and people listen to people who win, right? So we can win and pour into guys, then they can take what we're giving them back to their communities. Man, we can sometimes we might be able to change the world, right?
Hell yeah.
And so that's how I looked at it. And we nobody loves football more than me. I'm from Texas. We think we invented football.
I
So
love it.
I knew exactly where I was coming to. Everybody talks about, oh, you in South Georgia. Man, there's a lot of good football around here. Man, I'm from inner city Houston, Texas. It don't get no bigger than Texas to me. And
Yeah.
so I understood the challenges. I understood the expectations, and that's why I wanted to come. And, like anything, when you don't start the way people think you should start, you start really looking at a lot of different things. Ultimately, looking back at it, and then when we were going through it, we just weren't ready to compete at a high level. We didn't have the personnel, nor did we have the time to get the personnel. Sounds like excuses to most people, but I lived it, and so we just decided to fight our way through it and really build program at a place where people thought program was already built, and it had been. But every year in today's game, you have to rebuild program, and so we know that, we understood it, and we just went to work on that.
Yeah. Coaching is a ministry. That's good stuff. I like that a lot. That's powerful. Let's talk about, the stuff that you're preaching to these guys: discipline, obedience, grit. That's what it takes to be a dog over there, huh, Coach?
Yeah, no, I mean
I
we're
love that.
Blazers, man. Make no mistake about it. But our mentality is
Yeah.
dogmatic, and I wanted guys that were embodied what I thought it took to make it in today's world.
Mm.
Man, if you're not disciplined, if you don't do what you say you're gonna do, you're not gonna make it. If you're not obedient and you can't submit and comply with the authority for the greater good of the team or the organization, you're not going to make it. Nobody's going to want to be around you. And then if you don't have passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals, which we know is defined as grit, then you'll never finish. And so I wanted guys that embodied those three things, and we went to work on that. And that started right when I became a head coach. We'll always have that mentality. Ultimately, I don't want to be around soft guys, man. I want to be around dogmatic guys
Oh yeah.
and dogmatic people and guys that can fight themselves out of situations.
Yeah, man.
And that's what I think we built here.
Hell yeah. And it's not on the field either. I mean, I shouldn't say just the field, because you guys did it to get it done in the classroom. Highest team GPA in program history this last year. That has to be a sticking point for you to come in and to make that kind of impact. Like you said, changing the world. That's one way to do it, man. It's got to feel pretty special as well.
No, that was a really big deal for us, and we still didn't meet the team GPA that we want to meet. We
I
want to have
gotcha.
a team GPA of a 3.0 or higher.
Good.
We came in with a 2.81, and we were disappointed. And our AD was like, "Hey, man, I'll take it." And uh, we were happy that we moved the needle because we were dead last in academics when I got here.
Okay.
And so we certainly, I always feel like this: if you're not getting it done in the classroom, there ain't no way you're going to consistently be successful on the field. You might win for a little bit, but there's no way you're going to consistently win because you're not consistently winning in other places.
Yeah.
And so you don't just win football games and don't win the day. Like it starts with that conversation between you and you when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, right? Like we talk about that. And so we were really proud of that. Community service wise, I think we knocked it out the park. And so we felt like we could get those things together, then some of the success that we're starting to have football wise would fall into place.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose when to be a winner, right? That's something you gotta live by, and I like what you're preaching. Like, obviously, been following along with you and your program as well, and the sound bites. You get some incredible sound bites, man.
Oh man!
And the thing is, you could go from, like, the way you talk to it is great, because you could go from some, like, you talk about the coaching is ministry and some of this real heartfelt, like, great message. And then you flip it around and you're cutting a promo and, like, here we go, get somebody fired up, get me run through it. And then that switch is just like that. Just to me, I think that's been great to follow. But let's talk about your squad a little bit, right? Heading into this so far, 5-0, obviously some tough battles. Come to mind, Albany State, a really top tier NAIA team in Kaiser that I don't think a lot of people talk about. That is a really high quality football squad. What's surprised you, maybe, if anything, about this group?
Man, this group is resilient. And I mean, we've been through a lot from fall camp from spring ball. I'll date it back to January. man, if you were here in January with us, you've been through a lot. We put them through a lot, and then to add the new guys to fall camp, we tried to make fall camp as tough as it's ever been because we needed to find out who could and who couldn't, and we needed to find out when it was time to fight, who would fight, not just on the field. I'm talking about everywhere, and so these guys have been through it. I think they responded the right way. And most of all, man, we found out we've got good people. Um, Guys aren't fighting for bus seats and things of that nature. Like we get on the bus. I remember one trip we were going, the guys were fighting to not sit with somebody.
Oh, hey,
Like,
I've
what
been
are we
there.
doing?
I've been there too many times on these.
Yeah.
You get these road trips from northern downstate, man. Every trip is
Yeah.
7-8 hours. You got guys not wanting to share a seat. Like, what?
You go, man, we're a team, right? So we fought a lot of that. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't about the individual, but it was about the team.
Yeah.
And I really got a lot of respect for this team, a lot of love for this team. I love each and every guy on our football roster because they mean so much to me. They believed in what we were selling. They bought into it in a time, man, where people ain't buying into much outside of themselves. And so I'm really excited about it, about the group, and that's what surprised me. That nothing. We find ourselves in a fight. Sometimes it's a self-inflicted fight. We find ourselves in a fight, but they fight, and they don't start pointing fingers. They just fight, and I think we'll always have a chance as long as guys keep that mentality.
Hell yeah, coach. And you talk about the difference between last year and this year, 3-2 versus 5-0. How do you treat that now moving forward? You obviously have the momentum. We can talk in a second here about your upcoming matchup, which is going to be a big one. I'm excited to tune in. But what changes from a coaching perspective? Being detached as far as, their guys are obviously, rightfully so, their confidence is very high right now. They've won some quality matches, even though they do know on the horizon there's some big ones coming. What changes from that 3-2 squad a year ago to now where it feels like you started to really put some things together?
Yeah, I think when I got here a year ago, I bought into the fandom, right?
Okay.
Like this is Valdosta State. We're gonna always roll the ball out there, and we've been so successful in the past until we got no choice but to be successful in the future. And that was the biggest mistake I could have made as a head football coach. And man, I own that like none other. That was my fault. Football is so different today than it was 2 years ago, let alone 04, 07, 12, or 18, right? Yeah. And people always try to compare our teams to other championship teams. Man, it'll never be like that again. And so I bought into that and saying, okay, we got it. And I probably looked too far ahead. This year, our team is trained on living in the moment, not chasing the result. Man, I had an opportunity to go intern with the Steelers this summer.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned so much from Coach Tomlin, man, about just not chasing an outcome and making sure you meet the standard of what your standards are. And so we don't chase outcomes anymore. We don't chase scoreboards. We've had 2 games where there was no scoreboard for us to look at. One because of a hurricane, and then the one last week we didn't even have a score.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. And so we couldn't chase an outcome.
Yeah.
Because every time we scored, I had to ask the referee what the score was. So I just quit asking. And so we've been trained that way to just win every moment. And then if we win every moment and we execute at a high level in that moment, man, we'll know what the score is at the end because we will have done it the right way. And so that's what's different. We try to do things the right way and just win the moment.
Yeah, that's big time, man. It's easy to say that too, right? But it's another thing to live it. And I'm sure, that nod tells me all I need to know. Like, that. It's definitely tough. I wanted to ask, you mentioned it, the Steelers this summer, the Bill Walsh Minority Fellowship, man. Talk about what goes into that, and especially, like, you threw it out there, Tomlin. Like, if I'm making I don't know what you call it, like a top tier list here, like, he's S tier coach, that's the dude I would love to just be, a fly on the wall for a couple of those meetings, man, to see the way that he operates day to day. And the thing is, I feel like I already have a great read on what that is because he's just a model of consistency, one that you can't find not only anywhere in sports really, but just in life, in the world in general. People, it's very hard to be that consistently good at what you do. Yeah. So enough of me talking about it. I want to hear kind of your thoughts, takeaways from that, and kind of how special that experience was, man.
And I think this was my 3rd internship. So 09, I did it with the Texans, 16, I did it with the Chargers, and then this year, and man, this was the most impactful. because I got an opportunity to shadow a guy that does exactly what I do. I'm the head coach here. I got a chance to shadow the head coach. Most of the times, you get to work with the position coaches, and they put you to work now, like you're working. Man, I got a chance to just sit back and watch how this dude uh, runs the organization, a very, very storied organization. When you walk in, there's Super Bowl trophies everywhere. It can kind of be scary if you're a fan of the game. You go, man, I'm on hollow ground right now. And, this the steel curtain defense, right? So, but the way he handles players, the way he handles coaches, the way he goes about the business of the day, and just the way he talks to grown men, man, like he's on some real positive, making sure that guys understand the standard, but you don't have to demean guys to get the best out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that because people always talk about it's the NFL. What are you going to tell those guys? Man, that dude gets his message across, and people respect him in that building. And I think that's why he's been able to never have a losing season, just by the way that he goes about his business. And so some of the things that I got from there, we use here on the daily, man. Just living the standard is the standard. We say that here. Um, Reasonable expectations. There's a clip going around. I was in the room when he talked about reasonable expectations. Man, I was really excited about that. We do that every Tuesday. We talk about what's reasonable for us to believe as a program. And so it was impactful. I'm so grateful to have been able to be that fly on the wall and get a little steal of gear too and really feel a part
of, come on now.
and just be there for the week and a half I was there, man. I was excited about it and learned a lot.
Yeah. Putting yourself in different environments and seeing, like you talked about, obviously the difference between like that college level and the pros and the type of dudes that you're dealing with, I think, it translates across more than, again, it transcends sports and things, how you interact with people, who you may be in charge of, right? Like managing people and those type of things. You do a lot of that, a lot of putting out fires when you are the head of a program. But I would definitely want to ask about that. But the last thing for you, Coach, talking about some of these top dogs coming up, we'll focus on the one that's this weekend. Delta State, I'm assuming it's not going to take much to get these guys fired up to defend their home field and really in what is a huge statement game opportunity for the Blazers, man.
Man, it's a grand opportunity for us to host a premier football team. Man, I think Coach Cooley and what he's got going, man, with that his staff and what they do week in and week out and what they've been doing even through last year, man, is nothing short of amazing. It's a tall tree for us to climb when the number 8 team in the country is coming in here. But it's Valdosta, Georgia. I like our guys and the way that the look in their eyes right now. We don't know what that's going to equate to, but I know when you don't have that look, I know what that equates to.
Yeah.
And so I think, we're going to have to prepare the right way. We're going to have a really good week. But this is what Gulf South Conference football is about. I'm a little biased. I've been in a lot of Division II leagues. I think the Gulf South is top to bottom. There's no homecomings. Man, I can't look on the schedule and go, I can't wait till we get to so-and-so's team. I could do that in some other leagues. But this league, man, this is why you came here. We tell our kids, this is why I came here. I came here because I wanted to coach at the highest level of this division that I could. And this is why we recruited you here. So it's going to be a really good football game. On top of that, man, in Valdosta, Georgia, in Titletown right now, it's Wintersville week where the 2 high schools in town play each other, one of the oldest rivalries in high school football. So hopefully it's just a great week of football. But, man, we're excited. We're excited to put our brand of ball out there. The Blazers had a year off. Blazers want to come back the right way.
Yeah.
And hopefully our kids, they worked hard enough. Hopefully they continue to do that, and we get a chance to show our brand.
Tall tree to climb. I like that. I don't think I heard that one before.
Man.
That's on me. I like that a lot, though, Coach. And you the way you speak from that, too, you obviously speak from experience, being in the RMAC or being in the NSIC. Like, some squads right now, you can definitely make a case for the NSIC to have some really tough schedule, you know what I mean, as far as top to bottom. Yeah. And, hearing that from you makes a lot of sense. So I hear you, Coach. I just want to say thank you again for your time. It's been a blast.
Anytime.
You got a couple of guys going to be tuned in here up on Park Street to Marquette to that game on Saturday, man. I got the Flow Sports login for the GLIAC. I may as well use it to watch the Blazers, man.
Might as well, man. Listen, man, Kobe, I really appreciate what you do. Anytime people can showcase Division II football with the hard work that these players put in, man, we really appreciate it. I know our kids and our program really appreciate it. So I'll keep following you guys on Twitter. Hopefully we can talk again soon after an even better ending to a season.
Hell yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach.
All
I appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your night.
Appreciate you, brother.
See you. Appreciate Coach coming on, man. What a guy. Coaching is his ministry. I love that. Like, I really enjoyed that. It might be one of the first times I've heard that, but don't let that mistake you though. Like, that dude can get a room going. He'll get a dude to run through a wall for him. So, and that's a very Mike Tomlin thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, that's a very Mike Tomlin thing to say. Mike Tomlin is definitely that guy who lives what he speaks and also can get a group of men to just want to play and die for that dude, man. So, really enjoy the conversation with him. I wanted to start this episode talking about our players of the week, actually. So let's jump right into that. D2, offensive player of the week. Let's start the D2 guys. John Giles, man, from West Florida. Pee Wee Jarrett could have been on here too. It could have been co-offensive players. He had over 400 yards and like 6 tuds. But this guy right here just broke the program record at West Florida. Now, Kobe, the program is only like 7 years old. I don't give a shit. 11 receptions, 277 yards, and 3 tuds for the wide receiver there. The transfer wide receiver, I do believe, for the Argos, man. What a performance against North Greenville for those guys. Moving on, though. Defensive-wise, Ryan Olvas from Truman State. 6 tackles, a forced fumble, interception, and on that interception, a 67-yard return. We'll take that. Truman, big-time W. They needed it. Those unis are clean, by the way. I don't know why I haven't noticed that before. Truman's unis, hello. Moving on, though. Special teams-wise, Parker Burleson from Delta State, man. 6 punts, all of them within the 20-yard line, with 2 of them 50-plus yards. He's averaging about 44 yards in that game. That is a key way to swing the momentum of a game, right? Like, I don't know if people really do appreciate that. It's why we have the Special Teams Player of the Week awards. It's a third part of the game that needs to be recognized. He made a great impact in that game. If he continues to do that, they will win games because of that. You can flip the field like that. You can pin opponents inside their own 20-yard line. That puts your defense in a great position. So shout out to Parker. Those are some really big numbers. On the Division III side of things, Carter St. John, a guy who we've been, I guess, in the flame between me and Michael over the College Football Network. He's a guy that, he's been snubbed every week, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you could definitely make the argument the dude balls out every week. There's just been another dude that's been putting up even more crazy numbers. This week, though, had to give it to him. 12 for 13. He was surgical. In Alma's win over Trine, he had 385 yards and 5 tuds through the air. Had 7 carries for an additional 19 yards and another tud on the ground. Another one I definitely will mention, the quarterback, was it Kaiser from, oh my gosh, and now I need to find out. Hold on, let me find it. From La Crosse. I'm going to find it very shortly here, but he put up some ridiculous numbers too. I will not lie to you. That is, if my computer will load, we're talking about Kaiser Helterbrand. 11 for 21, 297, 4 tuds in the air, with another 15 carries and 128 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. That's a performance too. That was like 1A and 1B for me was Carter St. John and then Kaiser Helterbrand from UW La Crosse. The nod does go to Carter St. John. And for me, the biggest thing was 12 for 13. Like I said, that is surgical. We'll talk to Zach Zebrowski here from Central Missouri in a little bit. The dude was 40 for 48 in a game. What? Are there defenders playing? I don't understand. But shout out to Carter. Phenomenal performance from him. Moving on. We've got Colby Hyder from Southern Virginia. Filled up the stat box on this one. 15 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery for him. Big impact plays for this kid. And special teams-wise, KJ Peoples from Hardin-Simmons, 4 returns, 156 yards, and a touchdown. Another really big-time special teams contributor for the Cowboys there. On the NAIA side of things, from Pike, University of Pike football. We haven't talked about them much on this show. Lee Kirkland, 38 for 58, 614 yards and 6 touchdowns. Hello. And if I remember correctly, I do need to pull up the box score, but I think he had a receiver that absolutely went off as well. So bear with me just a second while I pull that up. They're 3-2 right now, coming off two pretty big wins, the last week being Faulkner and then this one, Union College. But looking at the box score in this one, if I can find it here shortly, yeah, there you go. Derek Griffith, 10 catches, 233 yards, and 2 tuds. He had 2 other receivers outside of Derek that had over 100 yards on the day. He completed passes to 9 different targets in this one, over 600 yards. I mean, that is absurd. Shout out to Lee, incredible stat line. Defensively, Elijah Pegat here for Bluefield, 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, and an interception. Bluefield, really solid strength of schedule for them this year. I have been trying to follow along with NAI a little bit, and they've had kind of a gauntlet here to open up the year. So shout out to him. And finally, Steven Linen from Dort. I did make a mistake here. One of his field goals was from like 58 yards, 59 yards. Shout out him. Makes it even a better pick on my part. So hate me for it. I don't care. He's 4 for 4, 7 for 7 on PATs, and that long of like 58 or 59 yards. I mean, come on. That's incredible. This is the only picture I can find of him, though. Let's get a little bit more of a digital presence going there, pal, huh? Yeah. But shout out to those guys, man. Those are our Player of the Week selections between D1 Rejects and the College Football Network. Remember, we make those selections every week. I put out a post saying, hey, what should the game of the weeks be? Who should be the players of the week? And if I don't see you in those replies saying, oh, it should be blah, 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 I don't want to hear jack shit when we post the selections. Now, if you reply and between me and Michael, we decide that there's someone else who beat him out, it happens. Not going to lie, it happens a lot. There's a lot of really good players every single week. But with that being said, if you're not in my replies and you don't get picked, come on now. Come on now. I just chest bumped my microphone. Come on now. That's how serious I am. Let's talk about some Division II games, though. We'll start with the one that I talked about at the beginning of the episode. Minnesota State Mankato comes into Bemidji. They win 27-24. This game was all over the place. They shut out the Beavers in the fourth quarter. I think that was kind of one of the biggest storylines for me, that fourth quarter for Mankato. Their defense really just stepped up. We've seen that time and time again. The other one being that Shen Butler Lawson Jr., his Harlan Hill campaign is off to a hot start. Leads the country right now in rushing yards. He had another 235 on 25 carries and 2 touchdowns to add on to that. One of them was an 80-yarder. Oh, my. To make it even more incredible, to be honest with you, this is actually a wild stat. I don't know if I didn't see this before. Mankato did not have a receiver with over 37 yards, and they won this game at Bemidji. They had 9 different players catch a pass, one of them being Shen Butler Lawson. 9 different players caught a pass. Each one of them only had 1 reception on the day. I don't know if I've ever heard anything like that. And they won a top 10 matchup on the road with a receiver not catching more than 1 pass. I'm sorry, that's incredible. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest with you, but it's incredible. What a weird stat. They get it done on the ground, and we talked with Shen Butler Lawson on this show about wanting to get back to old school Mankato football, that stout defense, that front 7 that's powerful, the run game that's downhill. They're doing it, man. They are absolutely doing it. Shout out to those guys. He's certainly going to be in that Harlan Hill conversation when it does come about. Now, moving on, a team that's red hot right now, it seems, the Kutztown Bears. 34-27 over East Stroudsburg, who was 4-0 coming into this contest. Kutztown, before these last 2 games, a 1-2 team, maybe a lot of people counted them out in the PSAC, they go and beat a nationally ranked Shepherd team. Now they come out and handle business against East Stroudsburg. And this Kutztown team now looking really, really poised for a nice run in the PSAC. Judd Novak, 18 for 29, 285 yards and 4 tuds. Did have 2 interceptions, so that kept that game a little bit closer. The leading receiver, Makai Gibson, 3 catches for 107 yards. That's a pretty good average per catch there. Otherwise, the big stat, I think, for me in this one, 5 sacks for the Bears. That really does a number on this squad. They also held East Stroudsburg to 64 yards total rushing on the ground, had an interception too. So to me, 27 points for the Warriors, I believe. But Kutztown, their defense steps up big time. Another team that stepped up big time on the road, Davenport. number 16 before this week. They go into Michigan Tech and stomp the Huskies. That was a dominant performance from the Panthers. 28-0 up in Houghton. Very tough place to play at. Just because it's so fucking far away from everything. I mean, I talked about it before. One of the trainers, athletic trainers from Davenport, called that trip to the UP, whether it be Northern Michigan or Michigan Tech, the trip from hell. Like, nobody likes driving up here, but they come up and they took care of business. 28-0, like I said, their defense pitches a shutout. They pull down an interception. They hold Michigan Tech to, if I'm doing my math here correctly, 76 yards passing, 41 on the ground, which is very, very impressive. Shut down a couple weapons that Tech has. Darius Willis, been pretty quiet for them. Ethan Champney's kind of taken over a lot of that wide receiver room, but they hold the two of them combined. They didn't do a whole lot of damage. Now, Davenport's passing game, not nearly as potent as we have seen it in the past. Peyton Brown, talk about Preston Smith, some of those guys, a lot quieter than they typically would be, but they were getting it done on the ground. Myron Harris had his third 100-yard rushing game in a row. He rushed for 112 on 26 touches. He's tied 19th in the country right now in rushing yards. The dude's having a year. The transfer from Wayne State, going over to Davenport and having quite a nice little string of games here. So Davenport looking really solid. Defense stepped up when they needed to, making a lot of plays in the backfield. Had like 7 tackles for loss there for the Panthers. That's really big time for them. So they have Northern Michigan this next week, and then they move forward. We'll see. We'll see, man, because that's the real measuring stick is going up now against the Grand Valleys and the fairest states of the world. But Davenport looked really freaking good. Another top 25 matchup here. Number 18 IUP at number 12, Slippery Rock. Slippery Rock takes care of business, man. 42-21. They looked damn good in this one. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 35-6 Slippery Rock. Indiana, they make the score a little bit prettier at the end. 35-6 going into the fourth quarter for the Rock, man. The Rock is back. I don't know if they ever left, but they're freaking back, dude. Braden Long was 18 for 23 with 277. Didn't throw a touchdown, though. They had 3 on the ground from the legs of Khalid Dorsey, who finished with 123 yards and 3 tuds. Kyle Sheets, who has been a dog all year at wide receiver for them, 5 catches, 131 yards for the big man. And again, their defense steps up. 3 interceptions, couple sacks on the day, TFLs, timely plays. Those are the kind of things that are going to keep teams on their toes, especially when you're at home. That's a really big win for them. And I wanted to see, looking forward on the schedule, what they have coming down the pipeline. Looks like they'll have a couple road trips here at Mercyhurst and at Gannon. They do finish out the year at Kutztown, which could shape up to be a PSAC championship level competition. Very excited about that. We can move on, though. Let's talk West Florida, number 8 at North Greenville. I talked about it a little bit before because of John Giles and his game that he had. Pee Wee Jarrett, again, here's the actual stat line for you. I was pretty close. 21 for 33, 419 yards, 5 touchdowns. Yikes. The Argonauts also had 3 interceptions. Just a big-time game all around for them. Got it done through the year. I asked Pee Wee Jarrett about who was, kind of coming out to be their wide receiver 1 this year for the Argos, and he gave me the great coach answer. Oh, these guys have their own individual. He should have just said John Giles, dude. This dude's been a maniac. He's been having a couple really good games. So West Florida looked really dominant in that performance, man, and I'm not extremely surprised, but they're really starting to put it together. Now, the next stretch for them, going to be very interesting. Now, they do have their homecoming game at home against Shorter this next week coming up. I would expect them to handle business. But then the next 3 weeks after that, you go at West Alabama, at Delta State, and then back home versus Valdosta. That's a gauntlet right there. That's going to be 3 back-to-back quality games. Delta State obviously was picked to win the league. West Alabama right up there. And Valdosta State right now, we talked to Coach earlier. They're 5-0. They look good. They're feeling even better. 2 more games. Check out D2-wise before we get over to Zach's conversation, the quarterback from UCM. But let's talk about number 20. Texas A&M Kingsville at UTPB. UTPB might be the Cinderella story of this year, folks. 29-17, they take down the nationally ranked Javelinas, and this offense is clicking. 1 week removed from the overtime win against West Texas A&M. The Falcons, we just had Coach on last week from over there. They are primed. They're playing very, very well right now, getting it done on the ground, in the air, pretty balanced attack. And this offense that's been averaging 40 or 50 points a game, we knew that wasn't going to be the case going against the Javelinas over there. Kingsville, super stout defense, one of the best in the Lone Star. They got a great defensive secondary, but they still get it done. And I think that's the measurement of a great team, is that even when you're not going to put up 40, 50 points, you're going to make do with your 29. And their defense stepped up big time, holding the Javelinas to 17. So I think that's a very quality win for Permian Basin, another really young program. We're talking about a lot of those today. They sit at 4-1. Their only loss being to that quality Western Colorado team. And I mean, now coming down, looking at the rest of their year, Midwestern State, Eastern New Mexico, they do have a matchup at Angelo State in a few weeks. That'll be a great test for them. But otherwise, I could see them just about running the table if they keep playing this brand of football. And you're looking at potential Lone Star champion in UTPB. That would be incredible for them. That would be incredible. Another Lone Star matchup. This one was our game of the week in Division II. Western Oregon with, I would certainly call it an upset. Neither of these teams are technically ranked, but I would certainly call it an upset. 37 or 36 over West Texas A&M, the Buffaloes. The Wolves get it done, man. This game was back and forth. I mean, really a heavyweight bout. Western Oregon, a 2-yard touchdown pass. Brendan Hodge from Gannon Winker with 2 seconds left. They were down 6. They score that one, hit the extra point. That's game, folks. Incredible performance from a Western Oregon team that I think a lot of people have just written off, myself included. No offense, guys. They had written them off. Took that to heart, for sure. Gannon Winker finishes 13 for 19, 232 and 3 tuds on the day. Dominique Loggins, 32 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Kevon Edey finishes with 5 catches for a hundo and a tud. That's big time, man. They're getting it done in all facets of the game. Their defense certainly did step up. Had 4 different guys with pass breakups, 3 different guys with sacks. The total tackles were very balanced from that whole front. And another game, too, against a very quality defense. In the Buffaloes, you scored 37. That's a really good number. So that's kind of it for the D2 games I really wanted to mention today. Before we get onto the Division III side of things, I do want to cut to that conversation with Zach Zebrowski from Central Missouri. Joining the show tonight, this man leads all of Division II in passing yards, passing touchdowns. His Mules are a point away from being undefeated. They're averaging almost 45 a game from Central Missouri. Zach Zebrowski, man. What's going on?
Well, I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me.
A point away, dude. That was a fucking game.
It was a tough one. It was probably the craziest game I've been a part of, just second half wise. We're scoring, worse. I think it was 8 or 9 straight touchdowns, and it was just, it was fun. It was fun until the end, but yeah, it was one play.
I love it, dude. And a lot of big numbers. Obviously, in the intro, did you have any idea of what this season with the Mules was going to be like coming over from Southern Illinois?
No, I obviously you always have confidence in yourself, and you hope you have all these hopes and dreams and stuff. But no, I didn't expect it to be like this. No, it's been a great time. Exceeded all expectations for sure.
I bet, dude. What's up with those? You got like those Cincinnati Red C's on the helmets down there. What's going on there?
Yeah, so that was our throwback. We had
okay.
I think the 1980s, one of the classes that won a conference championship was coming back that week. So they had they put the old C. Yeah, they put the old C on there. It looks like the Reds are playing football.
I take it back. I redact it. There's good reason behind it. It's not a logo theft. I like it. All right. Yeah. Moving on. Yep, my bad. Equipment managing staff and to those guys down there. It looks good. I was just like, man, I definitely have seen that somewhere. You know what I mean? But talking about you didn't technically get to start week 1, but you come in when Cedric goes down, you start dealing. Dude, you were surgical out there. Talk about that week 1 game, getting in, starting to find your rhythm against we've come to find out is actually a really solid Missouri Western team. That was a competitive win for you guys.
Yeah, no, going into that week, I sat down with Coach Lambo, our head coach, and Ced started last year, and I was coming in as a transfer. I thought we both had a really good fall camp. And he was just saying that, yeah, with him starting last year, he played well. He's going to start the game. He was going to play the first 3 drives. I was going to get some drives. We were just going to kind of roll with the hot hand from there. And it just so happened to be that he got injured on his 3rd drive. So I went in there, started playing good. And, yeah, it felt – that was the best start I could ask for sure. And it went really well. our offense was kind of rolling on all cylinders. We were going pretty fast tempo, and it took off from there. So it was a great start.
You guys air it out too. You're not afraid to, like, teams know too coming into the game. Like, there's a good chance this dude is throwing the ball in the air 50 times tonight.
Oh yeah, no, we had I think it was something crazy last week. I think we threw the ball 55 times, but I think we had 65 plus dropbacks with some sacks and scrambles and everything. So
Damn.
no, it's going in there. There's no really all right, let's hand it off, get the tempo started. It's right from the rip.
Yeah.
We're airing it out. Got a lot of dudes out there to get it to. So I mean it's fun as a quarterback.
I bet, dude. I'm assuming they had a pretty big role to play too in your decision to go there and be a part of that offense. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, on my visit, we were talking about it. They compared it to Tennessee's offense, so
Okay.
really wide splits, kind of getting some tempo and just taking advantage of space. So yeah, that was definitely a big talking point I had when I was
I bet.
kind of late seeing my choices and trying to figure out where I want to go. So yeah, that was definitely a big point when I was on my
Yeah.
visit. I can't really be mad playing in that offense.
No, dude, not at all. Now, did you come into the year with any maybe like statistical or like more measurable goals for yourself, or did you just, come into it one game at a time?
No, it was really one game at a time. I mean, I wanted to be the starting quarterback. I wanted to
Yep.
be the guy for the team. So there was nothing about stats. It was just what can I do to help lead this team to W's. And I knew there'd be some good stats to follow. I didn't know it'd be this high, but it was more of a just let's get some wins and try to get it
Yeah.
rolling.
I love it. And you don't have to talk about stats. I will, though. A couple weeks ago, 40 for 48, dude. That ball has to feel like it goes wherever the hell you want it to. 40 for 48.
Yeah, no, it was feeling good. I was funny.
Shit.
I was joking with one of the quarterbacks at halftime. I was like, I feel like the ball hasn't really touched the ground much this game. He was like, yeah, I think there's been a lot. I think there's been a lot of completions. I didn't know it was that high, but yeah, it felt good. I think we had a really good game plan that week. They were kind of dropping a lot of guys, making us take what's there. So I just wasn't trying to force anything. But yeah, I felt pretty confident dropping back that something good was gonna happen.
Yeah, dude, I bet. Now, you hear a lot about the basketball player that the hoop feels like it's 3 times that size, or the baseball player that feels like he's hitting a beach ball. Do you know when you're getting in a zone like that, or is that something where, like you said, you look back at halftime or post game and you're like, oh man, like that wasn't a fluke. Like I was really feeling good and dealing there. Or is that something while it's going on, you're like, oh man, I'm not missing?
I think it's a little 50-50. I don't know if I feel like it's all I'm just in the absolute zone and just I can throw it
Okay.
wherever I want. But I definitely feel it definitely the confidence raises for sure when you're seeing the ball move the chains. I don't know if it's really like a completion feel like, but when the ball we're just moving the ball so well.
Mhm.
That I think when I feel you feel a lot of confidence when the ball is moving. So I don't think it was like more of a completion or like numbers thing, but it was we're getting a lot of first downs moving the ball. So I think that's where a lot of where the confidence came from.
No, I bet, dude. And talk about, I mentioned the Pittsburgh State game earlier, but that's the best, if not one of the best defenses in the conference, the MIAA, man. Even looking across the country, like people know that's a great defense. You guys able to go in there, put up like 37 points. That had to be, even at a loss, that had to be a real stamping point for you guys. You got out on them early, too. Talk about, I guess, that week in particular, but also just the way you guys have been able to prove yourself so early on.
No, I think that game. I mean, obviously, you lose some sleep over some losses like that.
Mm.
But I think that we had a good talk with our head coach in the team meeting the next week. Is like we are who we think we are. We just got to prove it every week. But that was a good measuring stick to like, yeah, we're right. Number 3 team in the country. We're right with them. Every chance we could have had to win. So I think, yeah, that was the best you're gonna feel probably out of a loss, just based on we know where we're at and we know where we can get. I think it gave us a lot of confidence just moving forward to like even more confidence just to know that we're there. We just gotta tweak a few things, but in the main idea of things, we're definitely a confident group right now.
Yeah, man. And that's not, still a great measuring stick for you guys. And I'm not one for a ton of moral victories, but obviously there's great takeaways to be had from that. Even more great takeaways to be had from this last weekend. You guys on the right side of the column against Northwest, and you're up 20-3 at half. They certainly come back, make that one a game. Talk me through that one, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it sound a little worse. It was 24-3 at half.
It was?
So even yeah, it was 20. We were up 21 at half. No, definitely feeling good in the locker room. We knew there. I mean, D2, you can't have many losses, so we knew they were fighting for their playoff lives.
Yeah.
Probably we know what kind of program Northwest is. So we knew we were going to get their best punch. But it was a weird third quarter. We had the ball twice. I had a fumble, and then we went 3-and-out one time. And next thing I know, I look up at the scoreboard and it's tied. But I think that game gave us a lot of confidence because when it got tied, I mean, our offense and defense, we did what we needed to step up. So I think that was the biggest thing for us coming out of that game. Like when we know we need it or we know we got to get something right there, we did it. So I think that gave us a lot of confidence right there.
Defense stepped up big time. 3 interceptions on the day. They get those takeaways against that Bearcat offense. And then you got a guy in the backfield in Marcellus, dude. 149 yards and 2 tuds. It feels like when you've got a defense contributing like that to the offense, when you have a dude in the backfield, even though you're throwing the ball 74 times every given night, feels like those are some really great complementary pieces to have, man.
Yeah, I think the best thing about our defense is they'll give us some points every once in a while or a few drives for touchdowns, but they'll also come back and get 2 or 3 interceptions and a half or put us in really good spots. So I think our defense, I mean, I feel like our offense is definitely a strength for us, and we're getting the ball at the 35 plus 35. I think they're doing a really good job of just getting key takeaways. And then yeah, Marcellus, we call him TJ. I mean,
Okay.
he's a stud back there. I don't if I was a safety, that's the last thing I want to do is tackle him. I mean, he's explosive and he finishes every run. Like every single I think there was a few guys that ended up going out the game after hits from him. So I mean he's just he's a really like their first few drives, I mean, instead of running out of bounds, he's just lowering the shoulder and sending a message. So I think that gives a really good spark for our team. And we go empty so much, like he's not on the field a
Yeah.
ton, so he's always coming in fresh. Like he's fresh legs every time he steps on the field, and you can see it out there.
That's kind of interesting take on that too, talking about, being fresh. Usually people equate that to, oh, you got a stable of backs. You got 2 or 3 guys that you rotate in back there. Another great way is just to get the dude off the field and just find a way to,
Yeah,
like you said, keep him fresh, keep him dangerous, and apparently keeping him knocking dudes out of the contest. Well, let's keep doing that. I think that's a pretty good game plan moving forward.
it's scary watching him run sometimes. I'm watching him run. That's a mean dude on the field.
That is so mean. I love it, dude. A guy that I'm sure you've grown quite fond of throwing to, in Arkell Smith, who's leading you guys receiving wise right now, seems to be, I guess you'd call it like a wide receiver 1 type of deal over there. What have you seen from him and that wide receiving group as you've moved forward through these first 5 weeks?
I think Arkell. I don't even know if I could tell you what Arkell his best trait is. I mean, he gets open. He gives me good eyes all the time, and he's just. I think last week he had 150 yards and 90 yards after the catch. So I mean, you can't be mad giving it to a guy. He
That's
knows
absurd.
he breaks a lot of tackles, and I think when we're going tempo so fast, he knows how to find the. I mean, there's going to be defensive misalignments and everything. He does a really good job of finding the open grass. So I think he's done a great job. And then, I mean, our receiver core, we've had multiple games with 8 or 9 of them having a catch. So I think they've done a really good job of just everyone knowing the role. They're all excited for each other. No one's moping around if they didn't get a ton of catches that game. And there's 4 or 5 transfers from the Division I level in there. So they all
Okay.
kind of came together really well. And they're really tight group. So I feel like I have all the confidence in the world and really picking the matchup based on what the defense is giving us and giving that guy a chance. I feel like something good is going to happen most of the time.
Yeah, and you don't know what that's going to work out. I mean, you being a transfer yourself, like you don't know how these guys are going to gel, how they're going to come together, how they fit a scheme and an offense and whatever. And that kind of brings me to my next point. Your coach had said that you guys had, quote, a fun group and you're playing free. Those are not typically words you describe a quarterback having their first year in a new system. What do you attribute that to? And I guess first off, like, would you agree with that? Is that a pretty true statement?
No, I think that's a really true statement. Every team meeting, we have a few slides that we go through, just going through the core values of our team and everything. And he calls it the mule mindset, but our mindset is free, fast, physical, and fun.
Okay.
And I think he kind of ingrains that in our brain. And I mean, the more fun you have, the better you're probably going to play. And I think free is a great word to describe how we're playing right now because I mean, if I throw a pick or fumble or someone mentions a drop, like who cares? Next play, you can't really be thinking about everything else. So I think we're playing really free, and no one's worried about making mistakes. Everyone's just trying to make the play, make the big play, and keep it rolling. So I think that's the biggest thing he means when he talks about playing free. No one's really worried about any outside things or what's going to happen. Just worrying about what's happening in the present and enjoying it.
Hell yeah. Mule mindset, man. Speaking of, you have a live mascot down there?
No. Oh yeah, we do. We
You
do.
do.
We have two mules. Yeah, we have two mules that ride around.
Now
No,
we're
it's pretty.
talking.
I don't know. It depends on who you're talking to on the team. I think a few kids might not get within 100 feet of him, but but yeah, we got two in behind the end zone every game. So yeah, pretty cool thing to look down at.
Badass, dude. That's badass. But talking about, moving forward, you guys playing free, playing this brand of ball, you have aspirations to obviously make a deep run this year in the playoffs. I'm sure this past week was probably a pretty good little taste of that. You're playing in front of almost 9,000 people, man. What's it been like to play at that stadium?
Yeah, no, I thought the stadium was really I thought it was really cool when I was on my visit here, and they were talking about how the community really gathers around UCM football here. They're really big fans of it. Like I think when they were 4-7 last year, they were still averaging 7,000-8,000 a game.
Man.
So I knew if we got back winning track, we'd have a pretty good crowd. And yeah, that Pitt State game, and then this week at Northwest, I think it's been really fun to just play against good competition in front of a lot of people. I think it's been a good playoff feel for sure, and giving us a taste of it, making sure like we know that if we make a run, we're gonna have a lot of support. So that just gives us even more motivation to keep it going. And I think a lot. I mean, last week I think it was a big thing in the community. They hadn't beat Northwest since 2012 or
Oh, yeah.
something. So I think that it was a big thing for the community to see us get that done, and I think they're really behind us right now for sure.
I bet, dude. A lot of firsts this year for the opponents of Northwest. It was Emporia was like 29 years or something incredible.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing because I was still kind of getting. I knew the MIAA was a really good conference and
Yeah.
everything, but being a transfer, I didn't know a ton about it. And I was starting to see some stats from that win and the Fort Hayes win, and I was like, those are some pretty pretty crazy streaks coming to an
Like
end.
they have run that conference, dude, and it's going to happen eventually,
Yeah.
right? They just that those things come and go, but it is definitely crazy to see that long of a reign. Not to say it's even over. Like that's still you saw it firsthand. It's still a really quality football team, but some nights you just don't have your best stuff, and that's what it comes down to. And talking about your guys' schedule this year, when you talk about, I guess, for lack of a better term, those kind of marquee matchups. You talk about Northwest, Pitt State, coming up for you guys. You got Nebraska Kearney, and then Week 8 against Emporia. Those kind of, I guess, top tier conference matchups. What's the common denominator? They're all at home for you guys. Like I think that's a really big piece of your schedule this year, and I didn't realize that until doing a little bit of research and checking it out before our conversation tonight, man. But that's huge. Talk about that.
No, I think I was kind of surprised. Obviously, I was telling you I didn't know a ton about all the conference and everything.
Yeah.
I remember looking at our conference sometime in the summer and like asking teammates who's been good and who's been making the playoffs and everything. And I kept looking. I had to like double check. I'm like, so so all these good teams they're coming to
Yeah.
play us at home.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
that's got to be exciting. It's been a great feeling and knowing that we got a really good crowd behind us. It's not like they're coming to play us and we're playing in front of 1,000 or 2,000 people and not really caring too much. I think we have one of the best home field advantages in D2 for sure. And I think that's just a big thing, and I think we got to take advantage of it. I think we're having all these teams come here and play us at home. I think we got to take advantage and get those W's at home when we need to.
Big time, dude. Big time. Another couple big ones coming up next couple weeks. I'm excited to follow along, man. But that's all I got for you tonight, Zach. I appreciate you, man.
No, I appreciate you having me. I was always a blast talking some football with some athletes.
Hell yeah, brother. Sweet. Have a good night, brother. I'll be in touch.
I appreciate it.
See ya.
Later.
Appreciate Zach coming on. Let's talk some D3 ball, huh? And I think the best way to start it out, North Central at Wheaton, man. Number 1, the Cardinals. Coming into number 10, the Thunder. 54-35. This game was pretty lopsided, man. This game was pretty lopsided. You're looking at a 48-21 game heading into the fourth quarter, and then it got a little bit less ugly for the Thunder. But even still, what a dominant performance from North Central. If there was any doubt before, which I doubt there was, it has certainly vanished. I will say, Wheaton, still very much that team, right? Ben Thorson, 22 for 38, 235 and 3 tuds, no interceptions for Wheaton. That's a hell of a stat line. Giovanni Weeks, 25 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. A really respectable stat line. Their offense getting it done, certainly in a lot of ways. Defense certainly could not hold up with, I think for the most part, the rushing attack. Their quarterback, Luke Lennon, who we've seen have a big impact with his legs. He was 5 for 8 through the air, 166 and a tud. I think anyone will take that stat line. But on the ground, 13 carries for 170 and 2 more. That's where he's making his damage, where he's making his money. Joe Sacco, another guy, 6 rushes, 138 yards. What the hell is that average? Hold on. Wait, that's absurd. Wait a minute. 138 on 6 carries. That's 23 yards a pop. Joe. Yeah, you're going to get a text in the morning, pal. Why don't you come down to the facility? We got a cup we need you to pee in. Otherwise, North Central's defense definitely stepping up. Cannot really say the same for Wheaton's. North Central's offense definitely had their way with them. Felt like they dominated the trenches. Were a very physically imposing team. We will have Gerard Thornton, one of our sponsored athletes, on hopefully later in the week to talk about this matchup and moving forward for the Cards, excuse me. But that was a really big game this week. Really big game and a really great way for North Central to prove they still belong at the top. But another team that's near the top, number 5, Trinity, Texas, at Berry, an unranked Berry. A game that ended up being incredibly interesting. Trinity pulls it out 46-37, but that was certainly not the whole tale. They actually trailed early in the fourth quarter, 37-34. And you're like, oh shit, this is a game. They go on to get a field goal and then did end up scoring a touchdown and had a safety actually to really close it out. But this one was very interesting. And I know I saw Frank Rossi, our friend over at D3 Football Huddle, was calling Berry to be, higher than, even like nationally ranked. He had said that Berry would beat, I think, the bottom half of the top 25 teams in the country with their performance on Saturday. Certainly don't disagree with that. Just look at the box score. I didn't watch the game. I didn't get the chance to, but they got it done offensively. Blake Hembry had 319 yards, 4 tuds, no giveaways. Then you look at their rushing attack behind Brandon Cade. 8 touches, 156 yards, 20 yards a pop. Had a receiver in Kamari Smith, 127 and 2 tuds. Their offense was making shit happen, but our guy Tucker Horn over there, we had him on the show a while back. He was making more shit happen. How about that? 363 yards and 4 touchdowns. Really balanced attack offensively for Trinity. Their defense making plays when they need to. Bend, not break. Definitely letting up points. Didn't let that be, I guess, the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever the hell the expression is. But either way, quality win for Trinity. I don't care if it's an unranked team, whatever. That performance from Bentley was absolutely spectacular. The offensive yards was 520 to 521, which is just incredible. And you look at a lot of these stats, they line up and they're very comparable. The one stat that Trinity did dominate, and this is why you win football games, time of possession, 38-30 to 21-30. I think that's big. I think that's really big. Red zone scores on chances. Trinity was 4 for 4. That's incredible. What actually is equally, if not more incredible, is that Berry did not have a red zone trip. All of their touchdowns were these huge, crazy plays, so they didn't even have a trip to the red zone, so I can't even criticize them on that, which is wild. Let's keep going, though. Number 4, UW Whitewater. At number 20, UW Oshkosh. Start a WIAC play, for these guys. And, I mean, kind of a tale of the same for the Warhawks. Alec Ogden, efficient. Tamir Thomas, getting it done on the ground. A lot of guys contributing in the receiving game. Carter Sessa comes up with a pick. Joey Antonetti, Cameron Hutt, 3 guys with interceptions. That's a big reason why this game got blown open a little bit. Oshkosh still very much that team. Whitewater just more so. Number 7, St. John's at Augsburg. We've seen Augsburg with some miracle finishes here as of late. This time, not so much. St. John's 27-24 over the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. Cade Sheehan still getting it done through the air. You know he's going to, but Aaron Syverson, much more so. 367 and 4 tuds for him. And, wow. That's pretty big time, man. That's pretty big time. St. John's, couple great showings, and they're that loss to Whitewater now, not looking nearly as bad because of the way we've seen Whitewater play. They pick up that huge win versus Trinity in week 1, and then they go at UW Whitewater, then versus Bethel and at Augsburg. Now it feels like they're going to get a little bit of a break, right? Concordia, Carleton, and then Gustavus Adolphus. That's a decent squad. But we'll see if they get a little bit of a break. St. John's, I would expect the Johnnies to cruise here these next couple weeks. Let's talk about a team who maybe thought they'd be cruising this week. That being UW La Crosse, number 13. They hosted the Blue Devils, from UW Stout. They barely eked this one out, guys. 45-40 for the Eagles. And I talked about it earlier. The man who's winning this game for them, Kaiser Helterbrand, 11 for 21 through the air, 297 and 4 tuds. On the ground, though, 15 carries for another 128 and 2 more scores. Wow. That dude does it all. Excuse me. That dude does it all. Their receiver, Jack Studer, I think 170 on 5 catches, 3 tuds. My gosh. Man, defensively, led by Landon Owen, 10 tackles on the day. Big for him. Had a couple guys contribute some sacks, TFLs. Austin Nade did have an interception for the Eagles. And, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a wake-up call for them. Not a game we would expect it for them to be very close as they start WIAC play. They need to wake up. Guess what they got next week? They're at UW Whitewater. Should be a very interesting game. I think Whitewater wins by 3 scores. Just me. We'll see. Prove me wrong. Eagles. Prove me wrong. But final game that I want to talk about today. Washington and Jefferson at Grove City. We talked about Grove City before after their big win over Carnegie Mellon, snapping the regular season streak that Carnegie Mellon previously held. They get it done again, guys. And again, not a ranked team, but still a very quality team. In what was a 4-0 Washington and Jefferson squad, they beat them 31-24. And Grove City now, for the first time in program history, has made the top 25, which we'll talk about the rankings here in a little bit. They're 5-0 right now, guys. Their next couple of games at Geneva, at Allegheny, actually should be a really good contest. Still have St. Vincent, Bethany, and Theo on the schedule here. But talk about some key contributors in this one. Washington and Jefferson threw the ball 40 times. Wow. Oh. Logan, oh man, I'm going to butcher this. Logan Pfuffer? I'm sorry, buddy. 13 for 22, 185, and 3 tuds. I don't care what your last name is, kid. You balled, all right? 3 touchdowns, you balled. Nico Flotti on the ground, 120 yards, excuse me. And a couple guys make some pretty big contributions in the pass game. And then had an interception defensively, a sack from Ben Blottle, and a couple other just kind of big key plays. But you look at this one, going into halftime, Grove City up 14-10. They come out, pitch a shutout in the fourth quarter. That was the biggest piece right there. They pitched that shutout in the fourth quarter, score 14 points of their own, end up on top. Shout out Grove City. That's probably like one of the more feel-good stories right now in Division III football. They come in at number 23 now in the rankings. Barry comes in at 25, who was also previously unranked, talked about them. Some other, I guess, kind of key changes. Wartburg drops down a spot. You've got, Wheaton drops down to 13, which, is probably to be expected. Ithaca dropped a spot, rose a spot, after a pretty solid win, but not a lot of real shakeups going on. Endicott climbs 1. Endicott had a freaking massive win this week. And, nothing too crazy to report otherwise in the D3 football world. But I think that's about it for the pod. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Sorry, it was just me. You got to listen to me ramble tonight, but good to get back into the groove of things. Thank you so much to Zach and Coach Jackson for joining me tonight. I had a great time with both of you. And, we should have another great episode coming for you later this week. Appreciate you listening. Been Kobe Manzo from D1 Rejects.